We all know someone that we look at and think, how do they do it all? And I myself have actually even been asked that question. Cameo, how do you do it all? Here's the deal. I don't do it all. I'm just the only one that knows how long my to-do list is. And I know what I've been able to chip away at and what gets moved over as something to continuously work on. So the comparison piece needs to stop right away, because what I can accomplish versus someone else, our circumstances are very different. So what appears to be everything for someone might only be a little bit or be way too much for someone else. But that's got to go. But it did spark a curiosity in me when I was asked that question about how do I keep things moving along? How do I attempt to do it all? And so here are 3 things that have really helped me get clear on my to-do list and my attempt to live this full life and do the things that are important to me and nurture relationships with people who are important to me. Number 1, I've gotten really great at understanding what my priorities are. In my book, I talk about ways that I visualize or illustrate that, but very high level, I think it's extremely important for us to determine who and what, in that order, are important and prioritize our decisions around that. It allows us then to be unapologetic in how we show up in our relationships and how we show up for ourselves and how we show up for the things that we are attempting to chip off the list and the things that we want to accomplish in our life. So priorities are just an extremely important number 1 piece to doing it all. Number 2, in assessing and understanding how to constantly assess my priorities, I've gotten really great at saying no to things. I think especially now, we are pulled in so many different directions with so many different distractions. We have so many things that we should be doing and so many people that we should be helping and so many clubs that we should be signing up for and social media and work, and there's so many things on our plate. And when you know what your priorities are, it gets a little bit easier to say, that might be nice and I would like to do that maybe at some point, but no, it doesn't fit in to what I need to do right now. It doesn't allow me to show up for the people that I need to show up for right now. Maybe later, maybe another time, but right now, that's not in alignment with what I've deemed as my priorities. That priority list is constantly changing, which is why it's important to understand how to assess it and constantly make adjustments. But the second piece of that is knowing how and being comfortable and confident in saying no to the things that do not line up with those priorities. Sometimes that's not easy. So sometimes you have to choose the hard thing, make the tough decision over the easy thing. It's easy to people please. It's easy to say, yes, I'll do that, or yes, I can squeeze that in. But there's a cost to everything. So something is getting a back burner. And someone might be getting neglected as a result of not knowing what to say no to or not being strong and confident enough to say no to those things. When we first moved to Florida, I was offered a job that was exactly what we needed. We needed me to have a stable source of income. It was more money than I had probably ever made in my life. And it was a really great opportunity. It was going to be a lot of fun. It was like a perfect fit for me. But we had just moved and we were kind of rebuilding our life. And as part of reassessing our priorities and understanding what those were, our kids and our family were number 1 no matter what. And so I took the job. The job required me to travel, and it was like, okay, we can work that out. We can figure that out. We need the stability of the income. I need this for my confidence, and this, it's a great opportunity for me and my career as an individual. And so I took the job and I started traveling, and at first it was fine, but the travel was pretty intense. And it became clear very quickly that it was taking away from our focus on putting our family first and rebuilding our life as a unit. I remember Greg looking at me like I was a crazy person when I said, I don't think this is the right situation for us. After a few months of traveling a lot, it didn't feel right. And I wasn't able to give my family and my kids, I wasn't able to show up for them in the way that I needed to, in the way that I wanted to. And so we had a tough conversation, but we decided, because we'd already determined what our priorities were, that this job was not worth it, that I needed to make the tough decision to have a conversation that I either needed to travel less or that it just wasn't the right role for me. And it felt really crappy at first. Like, it was really difficult. It didn't feel right because we needed the money. But at the end of the day, it was the best choice that we've ever made. It was the springboard. It catapulted us into starting our own business and making other decisions around career path. But it also felt really good and reinforced this idea behind making sure that whatever choices I make, no matter how hard it is, that they're always in alignment with what's most important. It is a way of like gaining trust and confidence in yourself, that when you're faced with something difficult, although it may not be easy, you'll have this knowing because you have determined what's important and how to show up in your life. And it eliminates then any uncertainty about the decision that needs to be made. It does not make it easy, but it eliminates the uncertainty. So that's just a quick story about how important it is and how difficult it has been to understand what my priorities are. Those are constantly changing as my kids grow up. The demands of me as a mom are different than they had been when they were younger. The demands of me as a wife are different at different stages in our marriage and in different stages of our life. The demands of me as a business owner are different depending on what the market's doing and where we are in the economy. So that priority list is always changing. But one thing that isn't is my conviction about how to make my choices around what I've deemed as the most important people and things in my life. Number 3 is to create a plan. And this is something that I have implemented and then stopped doing, and then re-implemented and stopped doing, and recently realized again the importance of having a plan. So I start to feel overwhelmed and extremely anxious when I have all of these to-dos, but no plan of attack. So I know my priorities, I'm good at saying no, but then if I don't have a plan to implement, it's really just all kind of floating around and it may or may not get done then. I can be so much more productive when I have a plan. So what I've been doing is on Sunday nights before the week starts, basically block scheduling my entire calendar. And I know that might sound unrealistic and it's obviously not set in stone, but it at least lays out all of the things that I've deemed as my priorities in a way that's digestible so that I know that I have a plan in place to attack those things on my to-do list without feeling like some of them get lost in the shuffle. So those are 3 ways that I keep everything moving. There's a much deeper conversation around priorities, around how to make decisions and choose between things that are really difficult because it's not always easy to know, especially when it's something that you have to do, like a job or a client that you need to meet, in order to keep your job or in order to pay your bills. How do you choose? There's a much deeper conversation that goes into those types of things. But just very high level, those are 3 ways that I have worked on, dug into, explored with myself to make sure that I keep things moving and that I am not cheating myself or anyone else for that matter in my attempt to do it all. We get one life, so we have to try to do everything that sets us on fire, right? But it doesn't make it easy. It's extremely overwhelming. It's manageable. And these are ways that I keep it as such.